It had been months since I had last developed a roll of film, but the time had finally come to drop it off, like a court-arranged custody handoff of the kids, having to wait a week again before I get to see them. The tale of my new camera's first adventure had come to an end, but we're not quite there yet. So a few days ago, I bought this camera, and by a few days ago, I mean 9 months ago, in early January. I've moved homes twice since buying this camera. To tell you more about this camera, I reached out to a very genuine contact of mine from within Canon. She was part of the R&D team in the 1970s when this camera was made. Come on in, Lani from Canon. First of all, it's an honor to have you in, Lani from Canon.
Thanks.
Wait, how do I know you're from Canon?
It says it on my shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you know I made this?
When did you make that?
I made it in 1976.
With this model, what are the shutter speed ranges?
I would say the shutter speed ranges are like 20 to like 600.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is a groundbreaking camera. Throw it at the ground, that shit breaks.
So the light meter on this thing,
yeah.
What is it? How does it work?
Oh, it meters light. That's all you really need to know, honestly. Like, light will go to the meter, and the meter's like, oh, that's some light. That's some light if I was awesome. It's awesome.
Can you show me how you load the film?
Yes. So this opens. So you do that. What?
Yeah, pull it up. The back will open.
Oh. The back's not opening. Ooh. Yeah, so basically you open it and then you just put the film in there and then you close it.
Suppose I want to take a photo of myself and my friends with a timer.
Yeah.
What solution have you implemented there?
So there's this really cool thing that you can actually pick up at all Canon locations called a selfie stick. And what you do is you put the camera onto the selfie. So if my arm was a selfie stick, it'd sort of look like this.
Yeah.
And you just press the button. And then you got a photo.
Does it have a 10-second timer?
There's also a 10-second timer, which you may find useful.
Can you demonstrate that for me?
What, are you dumb? No, I could explain a 10-second timer. And do that. So this is the 10-second timer. It's pretty loud.
What are the best accessories for this model?
Earrings.
Thank you for coming.
Do you want the camera back?
No.
Oh.
Now that you know everything you could possibly need to know about this camera, it's time I show you what it can do. Come along with us on the first and only adventure this camera has been on so far. Now, full disclosure, I'm not made of money, so I try to make every shot count. So these photos were taken over the course of like a couple months. I'm not the type of person who just blasts through a whole roll of film in a day. To start us off, I had to first put film in the camera. I bought some Kodak Pro Image 100. This was my first time shooting with the film stock. Mainly got it for its low light sensitivity, given that it was the middle of summer. I also wanted to take advantage of the 1.4 aperture on the lens that came with the camera. So the QL part of the camera stands for quick load, which I'm doing a really awesome job of demonstrating here. Yeah, it's a healthy combination of doing it upside down and the fact that I haven't put film in a camera in about 6 months. But if you look past the god-awful slow technique I'm using, you'll notice I didn't have to fluff around with making sure the tongue of the film is correctly slotted into the take-up spool. I'm sure photographers of the time saw this technology and were like, holy smokes. And they're also like, damn, the newspapers are really lacking when it comes to cat-based comic strips. Like, damn, I hope that gets sorted this decade. Alright, in some distant universe where the word beans meant film, This camera is full of beans. With that, it was time to take the first exposure. I jumped out my girlfriend's window, set up the camera on a tripod and took the photo. A bit overexposed and a lot soft, but I was still oblivious to how soft this lens is when fully open. Day 1 of taking photos was an undeniable success, but day 2 of photos, I had big plans. I got up at the arse crack of dawn to catch a sunrise on Mount Vic. I'll admit I got a little too excited and ascended the hill a wee bit too early.
See a little bit of light.
On the plus side, it gave me plenty of time to walk around at the top to scope out places I might want to take photos once a bit more light come out. I ended up scoping out nearly every damn inch of the place, until I got a bit bored and had to take some drastic measures. Given that I'm literally recording myself in 4K, trespassing and or breaking and entering, I know that I'm about to spend my life on the run, so whether there was a good photo opportunity or not, I had to take one. I came across a tree stump which overlooked the eastern suburbs being bathed by the morning light. Perfect to plonk my tripod on. I framed up the shot, pulled focus, and took advantage of the built-in mechanical timer on the camera to run around and overall decrease the level of beauty in the scene. Photo 3 brought me around the opposite side of the Mount's crest, looking towards the city. I used my 24mm for this shot. The lens produces a disposable-like image with no real sharpness, yet the image looks overly punchy, not to mention the heavy vignetting. My next few shots brought me back to the bench I was at earlier, though this time the light level was a bit more appropriate. I decided to try a bit of an interesting shot here. You know how I've got a 50mm lens? I've also got a fucking monster. The sheer girth of this thing is enough to make any man self-conscious. While you can't tell a damn thing about what's going on here, I think the colours look nice overall, so that's a W I think. I thought I'd also try to get a nice shot of this grass stuff looking all nice in the golden light. Very orange. Standing up nearly causes me to eat shit served 3 ways, but miraculously, I managed to get down the mountain just fine. The following day had Lani and I going on a few adventures. In the morning, a quick trip to the supermarket. The afternoon had us giving each other haircuts. And to close the day out, a wee sunset walk, starting off on a car park rooftop. Lani had to demonstrate a few spins to test out a new haircut. Though maybe a spinning photo was a bad idea, because it looks like her hair is going to invade a planet and abduct a young child or two. We then headed down to the waterfront to catch the last bit of light slowly fading away. A couple days later, I was out solo again, though I was right back at the waterfront, just having a wee walk around to see if I could shoot anything interesting. Lucky for me, a few people were braving the diving platform, something I've been known to do from time to time. Unfortunately for me, the person who was going at the time I started taping was taking a really long time, and I was taping in slow motion, so it was taking up a lot of storage on my phone. I did also manage to get a photo on film of someone else mid-air. Awful photo, but there you have it. The following day, I gave Lani a surprise visit at her job at Time Zone. Also, that transition took a really long time because I had to track the outline of the truck manually, so if you didn't think it was worth it, go ahead and drop a dislike on this video and see if I give a shit. Being the boyfriend of a Time Zone employee, you best believe I take advantage of it and score some free games. Stranger Things might be a good show, but only true fans know that the real Stranger Things experience comes in pinball form. It had been a couple days since I last taken a photo, but there was this really annoying construction guy outside my window. Obviously the best thing to do to make him be quiet was to chemically imprint the moment for everyone to see. Later that same day, I met up with Lani for date night, where it was her turn to cook. I helped her out by just standing there and taking a photo. Fast forward another day, and it was time for another adventure. A beautiful evening, sun setting, pizza in my hand, girlfriend by my side. The only real letdown was that it was quite windy, which hindered the audio a bit.
Can we have pizza?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shit.
This image demonstrates the flaring you get with this lens. I think it handles it pretty well, just a few rings and a bit of a loss in contrast. Switching gears from photography talk, here's us sliding down the hill on a pizza box a few times.
Oh my god!
Be careful! Okay. Oh god, this is scary. It's scary.
You got this.
My butt covered in grass.
No.
That was fun.
I'm honestly not sure how I managed to not slice my leg open on the bricks on this go.
Oh, careful! I do not. That is. Oh my god. Oh my god, that was so fucking funny. You've got to watch that.
A good time was had by all. But the evening wasn't over, as we had to walk home again, where we came across some lovely flowers on a fence against an awesomely glowy sky. The photo I got from it is pretty awful. I missed focus and I really should have dropped the exposure by a couple stops to get more of the colour in the sky. They say that there's no such thing as failure, only experiences you learn from. Anyway, here's some pigeons. I took a photo of them. Day after that was a bit of an arts and craft day for Lani. She was all like, man, this mirror with a white frame is for losers. Epic people have wavy stripes on their mirrors. And the rest is history.
It's just facts, honestly.
Nothing major for this next photo, just had a real nice looking sunrise the next morning. A wee hiatus occurred here, where I ended up not taking any film photos for like 5 days. I thought it would be a good idea to blast out some shots on a fairly mundane walk I used to do every day, walking between my old flat and my girlfriend's old flat. It's honestly not the most pretty walk, combined with being overcast as tits, so literally all of these photos are shit at best. Something great about my girlfriend's old flat was the balcony that overlooked the main road in Newtown. Something great about Wellington is that it's known to have bad weather. Something great about the world we live in is that nighttime tends to happen at least once per day. All of this to say, I have one of these. Do you see where I'm going with this? I took long exposures fairly often with my old film camera, and shutter release cables are pretty foolproof with SLRs. But I was still a little nervous because I hadn't used the bulb mode of this camera before. Holding the shutter open is a big job for this little guy. Spoiler alert, it works fine. Back to the program at hand. I set the camera up on a tripod with the 24mm. Very stylish outfit I chose that night, but there was a more important task at hand.
Alright, we're gonna count to about 35 together.
35?
Yeah, ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Do you need to be counting out loud?
I'll fast forward a bit for you.
And yeah.
Woo!
Nothing too spectacular, but there's the sun stars you'll get at f16, as well as being a good look at the pentagonal bokeh balls from the 5-bladed aperture of this lens, all thanks to some water that got on the front element.
I'm coming inside now.
Okay.
The following morning it was still rainy, and I thought I could be all artistic and get some reflections from the balcony and the window slat, but what I really got was steaming shit. Time for another adventure. Today took me up Mount Albert. I like Mount Albert. It's basically the southern version of Mount Vic, also offering 360 views of the surrounding areas. Peak my incredible track standing skills, and then also peak how the wind did me. The internet told me that the weather was supposed to be fine, but it also told me you're supposed to floss your teeth. Obviously both are wrong. I actually think this one turned out alright. I pulled out the 500mm again, in hopes of getting another dramatic minimal shot. Helmets aren't really easy to take photos with, so it's gotta go. Now watch this cool trick where I transform from an 8 to a 3 in the blink of an eye. This photo was also about a 3. It's like we were made for each other.
I think you're a 10.
Thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
I did the final climb up to the summit of the mountain, where I
You turned into a prepubescent boy.
where I popped off 2 more shots of the view. We've got this one of overgrown leading line showing us to this other line, and we've got a generic here's the view type image. I went a different direction back down the mountain, which took me past this skate park. The lame part of me told me I should head home before the weather gets any worse, while the totally radical side of me told me I need to make the most of this and make a totally dank skate park montage. For the record, I do think the escape montage is cooler than this image. Whoa! Wait, would you look at that?
Oh.
It's time for another biking adventure. I went up yet another hill, Hawkins Hill. This time it was for a beautiful sunset. Does it look familiar? Consider yourself stupid if not, you literally just saw it. Right there. I was so hyped about this image, I decided to squat down and shit right there and then. Nice colours, quite soft, but still very pleasing. Oh, the image was alright too. I took another one towards the sun, after strapping on the 135. I like it, but I feel like there's just a wee bit too much going on here. Is the subject the house, the turbines, or the layers of hills? Jumping forward a second time, Lani and I took a day to go to Red Rocks. Now if you don't know anything about Red Rocks, just know it's the place to see seals. When I've been here in the past, there's been seals sitting on basically every rock, and there's like so many rocks. It's a pretty big walk from the road to where the seals hang out, so there's plenty of opportunities for photos along the way. Like here, I got a shot down a wee stream. Eventually we made it to the seals. Guess how many are out today? 10? 20? 30? And it was pure luck that I even saw the guy. I had to climb up over a big ass rock to get a look at him. But there he was, receiving kisses from roses in all his glory. Nat Geo been real quiet since I took this image. It was a sad and slow walk back home. This massive day and only one seal. It's almost as if we should have done a quick Google search to see that seals typically aren't a middle of summer type of thing. The sadness ended soon though, because it was actually our anniversary. Alone in a hotel room wearing fancy clothes with a camera pointed at us, this can mean only one thing. A mediocre self-timer portrait. So you should just be able to hit the shutter button, and once it starts going, then we're good to go.
So this one's the shutter button?
Yep. Alright. I don't know why we kissed there. Things are strictly professional between us. Hello, friend.
Hello, acquaintance.
What?
Come on, let's go.
Okay.
It was time for another adventure. Old faithful Mount Victoria again. It'd be cool if I could try and get my film finished today. Given that I only had one more photo to take, I think finishing the roll was going to be a pretty easy goal. It's always important to keep your goals within your reach. Stay humble. Hello.
Hi.
And there it is, the final image. Back at home, I rewound the film, popped the back open, and pulled out the roll. Now for those of you keeping count at home, you'll remember I took 37 photos. And if you have a good attention to detail, you'll notice how this roll of film is designed to take 36 photos. That's right, Kodak, you bunch of fucking amateurs. You just got played at your own game. Full of pride knowing that I single-handedly bankrupted a 130-year-old company, I carried my roll of film to the local film lab. And here we are today. So my final thoughts on this camera. It's good. I like the fact that it's FD mount, so there's a shit ton of lenses I could buy secondhand. I like the built-in light meter, even though I normally meter just using my digital camera. If I don't have it on me, I can still take photos at a good exposure without having to carry around a handheld meter. According to the manual, this is the most accurate light measurement possible, which is a pretty massive flex. Yeah, the only downside to the light meter is it needs a pretty obscure battery. At the time it used a mercury battery, but for obvious reasons that's not the case anymore. But with that said, it's pretty cool that this camera can work without any battery at all. I like the QL system. I don't think it's revolutionary at all. It's just one less thing to stress about when loading the film. I don't like the viewfinder focusing screen prism thing. My last camera had a split prism finder, which made it really easy to focus, whereas this uses a micro prism focusing screen, which I find barely any different to just raw dogging the manual focus. On that note, the focusing screen isn't user replaceable, unlike the higher end version of this camera at the time. So with that, I could swap it out to a split prism finder, but I'm stuck with the micro prism. Then I guess some little quality of life things. I like the 10-second timer on it. It's really handy. Thank you. The shuttle lock, so you don't accidentally fire off when you don't want to. Both just pretty nice to have. That's basically it. I'm pretty easy to please. Touching on the lens that came with this camera, bro, it is soft. You can definitely get sharp photos with it, don't get me wrong. But if you want to open up that aperture, you best not be focusing to infinity. Focusing on a closer subject can sort of mask the softness, and even make any softness look quite pleasing, but definitely stop this lens down for landscape work. So to conclude, yeah, I'd give this camera like a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's like a Goldilocks camera. It gives you plenty of features to give you creative freedom, while not bombarding you with shit you're never going to use unless you have a really niche use case. It's so fascinating to look back at the history of these kinds of cameras. Like the FD mount came and went long before I was ever born. Even just reading through the manual of this camera is like looking through a time capsule. Go ahead and drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. I'm sure I'll do similar ones in the future. I'll throw more rolls of film through the camera, could make a video on the lenses that I own for the camera. Yeah, stay tuned. I'll release another video in this sort of field one day. Okay, have a nice day.